Lazarus, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I had walked away and came back and asked John, oops, and typed that, so maybe it was the wrong answer there. But if you're, one of the things that, if you have any suggestions, that he has trouble with is when he has a negative thought or anxiety over something, it's to use something to turn that thought.
Yeah.
You know, I say sometimes, what road are you going down? You know, you go down this road, you go down that road. Can you try to go down the other road somehow? But any suggestions? Because that's you know, difficulty for him.
It is. It's let's see. Yeah. It's a great question, and so I'm really glad that that's the reason for this, is to draw out these questions and these challenges. So that's great. So
now, if we put the music on, it's a little bit it calms him. But you know, once you know, sometimes once he's starting to feel panicky, which is usually in the morning, not in the morning, you know, that's it's hard for him to you know, like flip the switch.
yeah, we'll try and work it a little bit. What's one of the things that's interesting what you said there, and I'll take a clue from it to understand better, is that when you put some music on, sometimes, you know, that makes a difference. And what that tells me is that the thoughts are very much emotional. There's a lot of emotion behind the thoughts. That's why music works, because music stimulates other emotions. So that's a really useful thing to understand. There are feelings behind these thoughts. And so just by changing the surface of the thought, that won't have a deep effect, because what's behind the thoughts are feelings, which they're, how do we say it? Feelings are often, they're much more longer lasting things. You know, we have feelings that exist from our childhood. We have behaviors as adults today, at whatever age we are, which originate from childhood experiences, childhood emotions. So the power of emotions is huge. So I think that's one thing, is to accept that there's powerful emotions behind the thoughts. And we're not just going to be able to solve it, because in a sense that doesn't exist, a simple solution. What does exist is a process of engaging with our own inner reality in a healthier way. So here's a question. Is it possible to engage with this negative thoughts and feelings in a healthier way? Is that a possibility? And really, you know, to consider it. And you know that it's possible to influence the emotions. You do that with the music. But perhaps that's a bit of a distraction element as well. If we really want to heal that source of negative thinking, we're looking at healing the deeper emotions. And more than healing, we're looking at creating a healing relationship with those deeper emotions. So that in itself, and you know, if you've ever done, or you know, people who've done any deep therapeutic work, it's a big work. It doesn't happen simply or overnight. And that's good as well, because realizing that maybe we can give ourselves more space to engage over a longer term rather than having a shorter term expectation. So we can divide or develop a strategy which is both understands the longer term process, and there can be elements of that which are more focused on the shorter term as well. Because if we only allow ourselves to focus on the long-term process, then that can be really difficult in the short term. So it's having more than one, having a flexible strategy or more than one strategy. So we're working at more than one level. So the short-term strategy is what you're doing, like the music. That's the short-term strategy. The longer-term strategy, one of the things that I would suggest for it, if you can organize it, would be the journaling, the writing. Because when we write, when we express ourselves in that way, and it's not for somebody else, it's simply to express ourselves, we recognize, we go through a process of recognizing what's going on. And so it kind of goes outside of us because it becomes written down. And that in itself starts to change the relationship with the difficulty with what we're writing about. So even if writing starts out at, I'm just describing what the negative thoughts are, and going through it and getting it all down. Is there anything more? So that everything is written, and it's to engage in that. So because you need to deal with the state of mind in the present, and the music is supportive but somewhat distracting. So it has its place, but it's not really engaging. So the journal diarying, that process is engaging. And when we list out our negativity, our negative thoughts, then we can ask, what is the smallest thing that I can do amongst all of that will make a difference? Even the smallest difference, because we're trying to really, because just to change our mindset from one thing to another, very hard. So when we start that process of change on something small that we can change, that does make a difference, even if it's just a difference in our own mind, that doesn't matter. In fact, that's what matters, and it makes a difference in our mind. Not a permanent difference, because there is no permanent. Our mind is always changing. When does our mind not change? It changes between morning and afternoon. It changes between 1 minute and the next, and 1 year and the next. So there's not a completely, there's not a set of thoughts in our mind which is fixed. Yeah, so if we're trying to fix our mind in a state of positivity, then we're working a bit against the natural way our mind works. So when we accept our mind is engaged with more negativity, then we can recognize that, we can write it down, we can express it, and even that means that we are choosing to be less a victim of our thoughts, and we're choosing to engage in a healthier way with it. So that's some common elements that you can do, but there is no getting away from engaging with our emotions. And I think one of the strategies, which is definitely short term, is it long term as well? Maybe. Which I've used, and do I still use it? If I think about it, maybe, is to set an appointment, to dedicate a part of the day, whether it's 10 minutes or half an hour, to consider these negative things. So we actually give permission to ourselves to think as much negativity as we want for, this 20 minutes between 11 and 20 past 11. You see what I mean? So, and after that, we're going to listen to some music, we're going to listen to something uplifting. But for that 20 minutes, we're just going to listen and let our mind think whatever it wants. So we're not going to try and interrupt it. We're just going to listen to it. And when we do that, something really interesting happens. I do this in my, this is part of my old meditation process. You just listen to the thoughts that are going on in the mind. And if I'm not reacting, it's great. Now, if I start reacting, then I'm listening to my reaction. Yeah. If I'm judging my thoughts or myself or somebody else, then I'm listening. That's just another bunch of thoughts. Judgment is just another bunch of thoughts. And I'm listening to that as well. It doesn't matter to me what my thoughts are. It makes, when I'm doing this, makes no difference. I welcome them all being here right now. And when I do that, when I listen to them, well, my thoughts, which is a part of me, which are a bit traumatized, which is why they're shouting about whatever. It's the same as somebody else actually listening to me, talk about some difficulty, and somebody's really listening. You feel that, and we feel better. And we can actually do that for ourselves by just listening to our thoughts and just accepting them and just accepting them. And when we do that acceptance again and again and again and again, and so that we don't mind accepting them. And when we get to the stage, we don't mind the negativity, we don't mind. We just accept it. It's okay. And we actually get to the stage of enjoying the process of acceptance. That's what actually develops. So our center of interest of being orientated and engaged and caught up with the negative thinking, we've actually shifted from that to the experience of accepting, which is a lovely experience. And this is the process of doing it, or it's a description of it.